Howdy, y'all. Uh, Star Thinker here, also known as Randy Pischel on the Valentine Goose channel. Valentine Goose 2.0 is coming up, and I'm just chopping at the bits. I mean, I've already got stuff packed. I'm not even leaving for, I don't even know how many days. 1, 2, 3 days. I got 3 days to go, and I'm already packing. I have a Honda Element, and I have already started switching it over to camper mode, because if you don't know what an Element is, it's actually made for camping. Um, and one of the things I do is, if you take the two back seats out, it's just exactly the right size for a blow-up mattress, like a full-size blow-up mattress. But since I'm alone, what I do is I take one of the seats out, and that way I have room to pack all my stuff. And then if you leave the seats in, they fold flat. So the front seats fold flat, the back seats fold flat, and it makes a big bed. So I can just fold just the passenger side, both the seats flat, and I have a futon that lays on top of that, and it makes a perfect bed, because the futon covers all the bumps between the hinges and stuff, and it just makes a perfect bed. Plus, if I lay on the bed, or if I take the seat out and put the futon on the floor, because the futon will fold out flat on the floor, I can't see out the windows. And if you've ever, I've said this 100 times, like, I am terrified of being in the woods at night. And so it's always a weird feeling. I can't sleep in a tent or a place where I can't, like, look around and see around me. It's just too hard. And so when I lay in the futons, I'm laying almost equal with the windows, and then I can see my surroundings and still feel like I'm in the car and stuff. I usually do pitch a tent. If I'm up all night and I can't sleep, and I decide to sleep during the day, I won't sleep in the car. I'll go ahead and sleep in the tent, because during the day it doesn't bother me. There's no Bigfoot. There's no Michigan Dog Boy or skinwalkers and stuff during the day, so I can sleep in the tent during the day and not see what's going on around me. And I said it before, the biggest thing that scares me out in the woods are people with guns, and people just being yahoos and stuff, harassing campers. Not that I've ever seen it happen, but that's a bigger worry to me than Bigfoot. Anyway, I'm just chomping at the bits, and normally I have a fail-safe plans for these. So if I get tired, because it's like I'm leaving on the 29th, and I got to be back on like the 6th, so it's 7 full days. But sometimes, like when I was in Colorado and I had a week off, I'd head up in the hills, and if I got like too tired, if I just needed a break, I could come back, and I could do that now if I wanted to, except that there's this Forest Fen finale in Yellowstone, and I wanted to go to that, so I actually have to stay out. Otherwise, if I got fatigued or something, I could just come home and sleep on the couch until my vacation's over, but and maybe just spend 1 or 2 days in the mountains. But no, I got to do the whole thing this time, because I'm going to be hitting Denver, and then heading north, just meandering, seeing where the road takes me. And I was planning on being in Outlaw Cave in Wyoming. I don't know if I'll spend like the full time there, but I would like to check out the area. And then there's some cool roads. I've been watching YouTube videos of people who've been there, and so there's some cool trails and stuff. So yeah, I'd like to do some of that. So I don't know if I'll spend every night at Outlaw Cave, but I'll be up in that area. That's why I thought, well, hey, I'll just stay a couple extra days and go to the Fen finale. And so now I'm kind of, I don't know. If I get too fatigued, maybe I will come home. I'll miss the finale. But anyway, I've set it up, and one of the things I love to do is like leave them right after work. I'm hitting the road. But what happened last time was, I work nights, and I'm usually up a few hours before work, and I come to work, and then I hit the road last time. And what happened was, I get about a little bit into Nebraska, and my eyes are drooping, and I'm just so tired. So I pull into a rest area, and I figure I'll just close my eyes a little bit, and because I had an itinerary last time. I had something to do every single day, and I had it planned out and everything. And Of course, everything gets blown out of the water spectacularly if you've ever watched the early videos. So the first thing that happened was I fell asleep in the rest area, and I slept for 3 hours. I thought, okay, well, 3 hours ain't bad considering I've been up all night. So I hit the road again, but I just immediately got tired again. I thought, you know what, I'm going to hit the next rest area, and I did. And I laid down, and I got up, and I was just really disoriented, and I was just, it's like I didn't know where I was. And I was looking at the clock, I'm thinking, this can't be right. And I actually slept for 6 hours. So that was a total of 9 hours I slept when I'd only planned on sleeping a couple. So I'm like, okay, now I'm going to hit Denver in the middle of the night instead of, in the early afternoon. So that kind of blew my first day out. And then, of course, if you'd watched the early videos, it's like that's when my car broke down. I ended up taking my engine apart in the middle of a parking lot. And then I was a little bit worried about going up into the mountains with my makeshift repairs. And but everything's good to go now. I shouldn't have any issues. I've had the struts redone. I've had what was the other thing I did? Some sensors replaced and stuff. So I should be good to go, and hopefully I won't run into any issues. But I've already had, because now, I mean, I was planning on going up I-70, and then there's these roads, because I used to work in Colorado, and we had 30 locations. So I would spend my week just driving all over the state, and in the mountains, it's beautiful. So I'd drive to a location, and once I finished there, I was done for the day. I could drive home, or I could just spend some time taking back roads and exploring and stuff, and then I'd end up at home and get ready for the next day. Or sometimes they'd send me on overnight trips, and so I'd work, and the place would close down at like 4 or 5 o'clock, and I'd go out exploring, and that's a lot of fun. So I know a lot of the back roads. I've been on a lot of them at least once, and I know that they're susceptible to various things. I know they had a downpour, and like roads washed out, and there was whole towns that were isolated because every road coming in had been washed out. So I mean, little things can affect things like that. And right now the state is on fire. So I've already, like, from what I planned, I was looking at the roads, and like, this road isn't recommended, this road's on fire and closed, this road is covered in smoke, you can take it but you won't see anything. So yeah, that's up in the air, and this is the only trip, only my first day is planned. I'm going to spend a day in Denver. I'm going to verify some token stuff, and then head out. And I'm going to get a calzone for my favorite Italian place, and get up to get some donuts and stuff and head out. So I don't plan on spending a lot of time in Denver itself, but I do want to get out of Denver and find a place to park for the night before the next nightfall. But the thing is, this time I'm not leaving right after work. In fact, I'm leaving the next day. So I'm going to be home, and like all day Friday, I'm going to be like, I want to go. But I have to hit the state line, Iowa-Nebraska state line, at precisely between 1 and 3 o'clock, I'm assuming. So it's like, that's a 4-hour drive from here, so I got to time it. And I wanted to drive through Nebraska at night. Now I'm going to tell you a story, and you're not going to believe it, because I don't believe it, but it's something that happened to me. And this is why when I hear people talk about the paranormal, I give them a shadow of doubt, because I've had these sort of things, these sort of experiences. They're absolutely true. They're absolutely real to me, and I'm sure I can come up with 100 explanations, and I'm sure once I tell you the story, everyone's going to be posting their explanations. But all I know is what my experience was. And I wasn't alone. So this experience also is corroborated by another witness. So I'll tell you my story, and this is why when I head out, I always love to travel at night, and I just love it. And this is kind of why. And so I had purchased an Encyclopedia Britannica, and it was the same one I learned to read on, because I learned to read before I went to kindergarten, and I did it by going through this Encyclopedia Britannica. And so I found the exact one for sale in Denver, and I purchased it online, and my daughter and I were going to go pick it up, and we're in a Buick Skylark. A Buick Skylark is a generic four-door sedan. And we're driving. We left after work on a Friday, naturally. And by the time we got down to like Lincoln, Nebraska area, it was already dark. So we're heading across Nebraska in the dark. Now we're heading, I think it was like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. We're the only car on the road. And it's pitch black dark out. There was like no moon, no nothing. And I look over and my daughter's like, she's got her face to the window, but she's like laying back in her seat. So I assumed she was sleeping. And I start seeing these lights in the sky. And it was weird because like they don't frighten. I wasn't frightened, but I could tell there was something not right about these. They weren't airplanes. They were kind of like, they kind of meandered, like fireflies. They just were meandering, but they were way up in the sky and they weren't blinking. Because that was the first thing I thought. Because I'm driving, I'm kind of debunking myself. I'm like, okay, they can't be fireflies because they're way up in the sky. I'm driving. If they were fireflies, I'd be passing them. But they were about the same size as a close-up firefly, just a dot, a circle of light in the sky, and there were several of them. They were all over the place and just meandering. So I thought, well, I wonder if there's a fire nearby, and these are embers floating way up in the sky. They weren't quite the right color. They were more yellowish white. And I'm just, for the longest time, I remember driving going, okay, so they're not this. They can't be airplanes because they're changing direction all over the place, and an airplane can't do that. They were like intermingling with each other and stuff. And I'm just like, this is so weird. And I felt strangely calm. And that's the weird part about it. I wasn't anxious. I wasn't frightened. I was just calm and watching these. And they started to come down closer to the car. And as they got closer to the car, they got maybe ping pong ball size. And they were like, they started to follow the car. And I'm still like, okay, maybe I should pull over and get some sleep. Maybe I should do something. And one of them kind of paced us for a little bit on the passenger side, came in, and it just like passed through the back window. And when it passed through the back window, it kind of lit up the interior of the car. And it lit up. And it passed behind me and went out the other back window. It kind of went up by the rear window because it went over the back shelf behind the back seat, and then it came forward and came out the other side of the car. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, because I watched it come in, like, and I had to like look forward to driving, and I'm watching in my rear view mirror this thing passing through, and like the whole interior of the car was lit up. You can't, I don't even know how to explain it. It was just kind of like someone broke a glow stick and the interior of the car was kind of glowing, and then when it left out, the glow stopped. And then they like were swirling around, and then they disappeared. And I'm driving, and at that point, I wasn't nervous, I wasn't scared. At that point, I was astonished. I mean, I was still kind of calm, I was just astonished. I was like, what the hell just happened? What the hell just happened? And I look over, and my daughter is now sitting straight up in this chair, sitting straight up in the seat. And she goes, did that just really happen? And I'm like, I didn't want to put any thoughts in her head, so I just said, what? I just saw one of those lights pass through the car. And she said she turned around and actually looked at it and saw it pass through the other window. And I'm like, that's kind of what I saw. And she was just like, and she's looking out. By this time, they're all disappearing. And she's like, so what the hell were those? I've been watching them for like an hour. And I said, I've been watching them too. And she goes, well, how did it come? So we both saw the same thing. And I didn't put the thought, like I said, I let her tell me what she saw before I said anything. And so that's two people that had the same experience. And I mean, she was sitting bolt upright, just like going, did that just happen? Did that just really happen? And we were just kind of calm. And I'm like, I'm going to keep driving. I'm not stopping for anything right now. She's like, I agree. It was, and like I said, two people saw the same thing. And I wasn't saying anything. I was absolutely silent. So I don't think it was like a shared hallucination. I think that in order for that to happen, one person has to be talking, has to like put thoughts in the other person's head. So yeah, that was my experience, and we only told this to one other person who put it on Coast to Coast, I think, and of course they'll print anything, or it's a podcast, they'll say anything. Or at the time, I think it was a radio show, I can't remember, but yeah, and we just submitted that anonymously. We didn't put our names on it or nothing, and they read it on the air. But we're just like, that really happened, and we both to this day were like, "Hey, do you remember that time in Nebraska?" And she's like, "Oh my God, don't remind me of that time in Nebraska." But yeah, I just, on the hopes that might happen again. I like driving through Nebraska at night, so. And again, I feel really strange about it, and this is the first time, of course, now everyone knows, but first time I've ever told anyone other than family members, and yeah, I'm sure you're all going to come up with your own theory and what happened, and maybe I was dreaming, sleep driving somehow, or I don't know, but that's what happened. That's the whole thing, and so that's why I was joking about how this trip was a UFO hunt. I'm going to try and travel at night. I got to be careful though, because like if I'm in an unfamiliar area on back roads, I don't like to do that at night, because you never know if there's going to be like a hairpin turn. If there is a hairpin turn, the reason is probably because there's a cliff, and you don't want to miss those. So I want to make sure I'm someplace where I can camp at night or something. And I'm going to try. I can't get a hotel room until Friday, so hopefully there's still hotel rooms on Friday. It's only Wednesday. Oh, I'm stomping at the bits. But yeah, I can't wait. Like I said, the only plans I have is to go into Denver, verify the token. I'm going to try and get a picture of it, because I never actually took a picture of the token in the spot where it is. I've taken a picture of the spot, but not with the token in it. So I'm going to maybe try and do that. I can't do it with people around, because like, let's say you're at a building and someone sees you nosing around at a building, touching stuff and poking and taking pictures, and you walk away. What are they going to do? They're going to be like, wonder what that guy was looking at, and they might go up and start looking, and then someone might inadvertently find the token. So I got to make sure like there's no one around, and sometimes I know the last time I had to stand there and wait, because even though it was like the crack of sunrise, there was joggers and stuff, and so I wanted to just be really careful and make sure there's no one around. So yeah, it's going to be fun, and like I said, I'm terrified at night, so it's going to be. I know there were some nights when I'm camping in oh God, what's the name of that forest? Oh, I can't think of it right now, but it's it's nearby Denver. When I'm camping, I can actually see the lights of Denver, like the actual lights, looking down on it. Pike National Forest, and there was nights there. I'm just like, I let my imagination run, and so I'm like, okay, it's 4 hours till sunrise, and I would get in my car, and I know the roads back there, so I've been on them a lot, and I would drive out to like the nearest blacktop road. And I don't know, just like civilization, it's blacktop. Even though I'm still in the middle of nowhere, there's no houses or nothing around me. But I would leave the campsite and I should just drive until daybreak, because every little twig snap, every little wind rustling through the woods just ignites your imagination. And it's the last time on my last Valentine Goose, I did spend the night in the car in the middle of. Actually, Nebraska has a national forest. Yeah, and I had to keep the windows closed because the mosquitoes were so thick. And by the time morning came, I felt like I was in a sauna. But I did sleep that night, and I didn't panic. I was the only car. There was one other car in the whole campground because it was the middle of the week. And I'm kind of hoping, even though it's a holiday coming up, I'm kind of hoping because in the middle of the week I'll have some of these things a little more isolated. And then come the holiday weekend, that's when everyone's. And then of course it's COVID, so it's hard to judge what it's going to be like. And then as we get closer, I got to find out where the fires are and plan it from there. And anything else? Nothing else. I did want to put a plug in for Amy Seeks. I meant to do this at the beginning of the video. Um, every time I watch uh, videos, it's always a rehash of the same things over and over and over again. But it was kind of refreshing because she did an update of all the hunts and was like updating this was this and this, and she even did like an update from what I posted a few weeks back. So it was kind of refreshing to see that, and like this was different. This wasn't, and she told you like how to buy in, who to contact, if this isn't right, who to contact, and so it's like, okay, I mean that was so refreshing. It wasn't, where did you think Forrest hid his treasure? Because I'm so I'm really tired of hearing that. I am trying to work on some other hunts, and I'm just really burned out. So I'm trying to stick to the ones I was on. I know I paid into K-Pro and cows, and once I woke up from my seizure on part one, um, I mean literally, I am prone to that. I just was like, I had to shut it off. I couldn't watch it. And then I started watching his other videos, and I did it here because I came into work like 2 hours early specifically to do that. And I was like writing stuff down, but I didn't bring my graph paper. I'm like, oh, everything he has is on a grid. I need my graph paper. But it's like all the camera angles are just, it was just, and like I said, the first one, I had to stop it right away because I already could feel myself passing out. And I got the relevant stuff off of there. And then on the rest of them, it was just like, oh, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't get through them. I did watch them all, and I took notes on like the first four, and then I was like, let me just see if there's anything, because I wanted to see on the list of 10 links, like if there was a pattern there too, because I think that might have something to do with it. And then I looked at K-Pros, and like my mind was just mush at that point, and so I'm like, oh, I got to step back from this, and I am working on a couple other things, and yeah, I'm kind of in a groove on those, and I don't want to get out of that groove by confusing myself with other things. So yeah, and I don't know, I never was the type to participate in group discussions on how to solve it, because I think that muddies everything. No offense, and people do get good things out of those. But I try to do it on my own, so I don't know. I've heard rumors that, oh, this was solved and this was solved and this was solved. I'm like, well, I haven't worked on the first one yet, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. I am going to be spending oodles amount of alone time in the mountains. So if I can, I might go through them again with my actual graph paper and draw out, because that's kind of what I do, is I'll just draw out what he did. And that's where I made my mistake last time, because I didn't draw enough detail. And if I had drawn a little more detail, I probably would have been closer to solving that one. But I don't know. Because you in the mountains, you never know if you're going to have any kind of reception at all, and I kind of doubt I will. And that's why I carry paper maps. But yeah, it's going to be kind of an experience, and I don't know if I'll ever have time to work on those while I'm out there, but because I do weird things when I'm in the woods by myself, sometimes I won't even go into it, but I'm really looking forward to it. I'm chomping at the bits. I can't believe it's only Wednesday. In fact, it's only just Wednesday because it's just past midnight for me because I'm at work. And man, we got the biggest computers, and look at the size of these computer boxes. These are the big drafting computers with all this stuff inside of it. So yeah, so it's just Wednesday. I got to get through Thursday and Friday, and then somehow sleep Friday night, and then I know I'm not supposed to get to where I'm supposed to, to the border until at least 1 o'clock, but I'll probably get there at like 11 or 12 and end up walking around a park or something right here in Iowa waiting for 1 o'clock. But I want to pace it out too, because I'm going to spend some time there, and I want to make sure I'm leaving when the sun's going down. It also avoids a lot of traffic. You avoid all the traffic going through like Lincoln and what's the other one? Omaha. It's just weird. I know when I drove through last time during the day, there was so much traffic, and I'm like, I don't remember there ever being traffic. But then, all the times I drove back and forth from Colorado to Iowa, it's always been at night, and I always hit Lincoln and Omaha at like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and there's nothing, and you just cruise right through them. So yeah, there's reasons why I should do what I do, but just putting that out there. If you know of anyone that's had a UFO experience in Nebraska, I wouldn't mind hearing about it. And if I can't give out my daughter's information, but she will freely tell anybody. She's told more people than I have about that time the thing floated right through the car when we were doing 80 miles an hour down the highway. Yeah, just bizarre. But anyway, I'm gonna wrap it up. Yeah, so Amy Seeks is every other Tuesday, and she alternates with Chasing Indy. Just look up those names. Those are very good. I like the ones where they're just not talking about Forrest Fenn, because that gets, I don't know. If there's updates, that's one thing, but there's just no updates. So it's just it's endless speculation. It drives me crazy. But anyway, I should get back to work, and I guess I got nothing else to say. So, yep, I'm 6 minutes over, so I better get going. Y'all have a good night. I'm dropping my phone. Take care.